Here we go. Hello, I hope you're at least fairly decent. I just wanted to talk about something. If you've been involved in the YouTube community, whether it's as an observer or a creator in pretty much any vicinity since August 2024, you've likely seen the allegations put forth by Dogpack404 against MrBeast. But in absolute disaster, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of people in North Carolina named James Warren who assault their girlfriends, I guess.
Now, I'm sure everyone's already heard this. They know what's coming. There's never a good reason to be saying he might have been charged.
It's not just a disgrace against anyone trying to actually get justice against the alleged wrongdoings of this major corporation. It's a shame, because I feel like logic would bring the majority of people to the consensus that, yeah, there's probably a story here, not because of how many things you threw in there, which seems to be the approach that Dogpack has taken, you know, quantity over quality, but because some of those allegations that seem to have been buried within a sea of shots in the dark misinformation were really imperative. How fickle the internet can be, court of public opinion. You know what this got me thinking about? The Slazo allegations back in 2018. Mind you, equipped with only pretty much out of context Discord screenshots, pretty much all of his friends just dropped him.
You really think someone would do that? Just go on the internet and tell lies?
Or what about that one time Jon Swan weaponized the benefit of the doubt and miraculously managed to convince an entire group of people who were pretty much renowned up until that point for approaching most controversies with a level of skepticism to buy the absolute cliche that is, it wasn't me, my friend had my phone, when confronted with accountability for a variety of reckless Discord messages. Ew, so many of these situations seem to be tied to Discord. It was a cold day in hell when Tipster was able to justifiably tweet this at BoBlax.
He said, "I wasn't gonna say anything. I was just looking for confirmation of whether this was you or not. But since you want to run your mouth, I'll say my piece. Talk all the shit you want. But I knew you were next. And I was right. Literally everything you tried to shit on me for, you did. You're a massive fucking hypocrite."
Not true.
Hold,
I
no.
didn't defend Wally.
Do not interrupt the words of the great Tip.
BoBlax is the Twitter versus guy. Media literacy is supposed to act as our lifeboat. So I have specifically chosen this background and this activity to show you that if I'm sitting here high as a kite with enough critical analysis to come to the conclusion that you guys are smoking something, it might be time to reevaluate. Man, I almost had such a funny bit, but I hate the words I chose. Let me stop ostracizing any potential viewers of this video. It's because I was smoking something, not you, so it's like ironic. Okay, let's just dive a little deeper into the situations I mentioned above. All right, we must be done with this controversial background. Keeping it brand friendly as always. You'd think with all the time that we spend online, either as spectators or contributors, specifically in the commentary community, we'd have a much higher tendency to lean on critical analysis when faced with even a little bit of uncertainty by now. But here we are, watching the commentary community trip over itself year after year, like I'd watch my mom stumble in from the casino a little shy at 4 a.m. when I was still in high school. In a world where any degenerate can hop online and spew their stream of consciousness, whether based in reality or not. Yes, approaching the online landscape with media literacy in general is important, but beyond that, cultivating and caring about a community that prioritizes discerning fact from fiction has never been more imperative. We're gonna go on a little field trip to give you a visual aid. So what do you do when you're drowning? Obviously, you fucking save yourself. Individuals in high-stakes situations might act irrationally due to fear or desperation. Similarly, when someone has a lot at stake due to the potential outcomes of the court of public opinion, it's crucial to set aside the benefit of the doubt and examine the situation with heightened scrutiny. Unfortunately, the commentary community seems to have repeatedly, almost semi-annually at this point, undergone painfully similar controversies. Yet very few people learn from them and adopt any kind of nuance to future situations that they get involved in, or just in general adapt the level of critical analysis required to maintain your reputation as a reputable source. Truly, sometimes I am just left baffled, wondering if anyone at all knows how to verify a source. And listen, I'm not even college educated, okay? So let's have a little discussion about what I perceive to be an overall lack of information scrutiny within the commentary community, starting with Jon Swan and his deception.
Jon Swan is the guy who lied to Dream and blamed it on his 12-year-old autistic cousin that doesn't exist. Probably the most insane part of that drama was him reaching out to BoBlax, a YouTuber who openly talks about his autism, to try and get him to validate Jon's fake story.
Okay, few years ago, a prominent Australian douchebag in the commentary community, John Swan, proved his ability, or rather I should say inability, to act as a reliable narrator and take accountability in the face of his fuck-ups after it was revealed that he conspired in a group chat to expose one of his peers and fellow content creator. He even helped draft the victim's expose while vehemently denying any involvement.
Let's meet the players. John Swan, a YouTube commentator who continues to get involved in 15-year-old's love life. Liz, the 15-year-old asking for advice on her relationship. Cammy, the 18-year-old who was in a relationship with Liz. And haha, yeah, another 15-year-old John put in charge of writing a grooming document against Cammy.
It's obviously like a very brief, vague rundown, but if you're curious or unfamiliar, more information will be in my description box below. John had already showcased his inability to take the L, as some might say, until he absolutely had to. It gets worse though, because just a couple of years later, and this is actually impressive because I imagine it took a long time to gain that trust and benefit of the doubt back, but just a couple years later, he managed to weasel his way back into everyone's good graces enough that he eventually got exposed for changing his Discord profile picture and avatar, pretending to be Dream. Yes, this Dream.
I wear a mask with a smile for hours at a time. They ask me how I'm doing, I say I'm just fine.
Sending the N-word as well as sexual stuff to multiple fans. That's a quote from Business Insider. And this man really had the audacity to say, oh, it was my friend hacked my account. And it really was such a sight to behold because so many people that were making videos about this at the time failed to approach the situation with any kind of critical analysis, despite how obviously ridiculous and played out that excuse is. I think Redditor EWOUTK summed it up best. Quote, despite some initial suspicions, many of John's friends and fellow commentary channels made videos cautiously or fully supporting John as he continued to lie to them. This includes, but is not limited to, Boblax, we'll get to him, Nicholas Diorio, Optimus, Augie, and more.
If you know the answer, then you know the answer.
So you did it!
That's what I'm gonna say.
John, come on! I'm not.
No, I'm not. I don't know. Who knows?
This was a blatant execution of the integrity expected from the commentary community. I just remember being like, how are so many people that I deem to be credible buying this bullshit? This situation was one of the primary incidents that illuminated to me, and I'm sure a ton of other people, how little trust and credibility matter or should matter when it comes to messy online discourse, and how much we need to have an unwavering reliance on provable evidence. It was incredibly easy for the majority of content creators in the space to be misled. It was not an isolated incident of the community's tendency to take sides based on feelings over facts, almost to the point where it feels like weaponized incompetence at times. But I digress. So now that we've discussed an example of someone throwing their friends under the bus to save themselves, let's talk about a group of friends that threw someone under the bus to save themselves. To very briefly summarize a very long convoluted story, a few years ago, a very popular YouTuber by the name of Slazo, he was one of those people that made the r/ videos, like the Reddit videos.
Bitch. Wow. And then he has a pretty astute response of, owns.
He was accused of emotional and sexual abuse by a former partner. Now, very quickly, a huge wave of backlash hit, and the community was pretty quick to dismiss him and took sides, often without thoroughly investigating the sides. And it's not like everyone was just fence sitting. Oh no, they shared their opinions. His podcast kicked him out.
You were also quick to condemn him. Why defend her when we knew that she not only embellished but lied? Literally lied to everyone, and some of it could be true for all we know, but that doesn't really matter. How are we to trust anything she says when she lied and there's proof of it publicly?
However, as time kind of went on, a bunch of inconsistencies within the allegations kind of began to surface and get pointed out more and more.
Which obviously begs the question.
In this whole thing is, why would she lie?
And I'll fact check myself right here if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure very little was done to the misinformation spreaders. And no, I'm not talking about the commenters that took the very human position of believing a girl claiming she was abused. I'm talking about his friends. I'm talking about his homies.
And barely anyone has apologized on the inside either. In fact, almost no one that was involved in the situation has apologized at all for casting out their friend. Quite kinda apologized, I guess, but you know, he hasn't really picked a side yet.
I think very few apologies were issued, and the community pretty much welcomed them back in with open arms. The voices that lifted the accusations the most and gave them the most credibility because they were close to him, I'm pretty sure they were on vacation at the time, if I'm not mistaken. So we're blatantly saying as consumers that we're totally fine with being fed misinformation and very little being done to correct it, if anything. It raised some cool conversations about accountability, but nothing was ever really done with them. This was arguably one of the most swift and blatant examples of a rush to judgment and a lack of lack of fact-checking that led to this massive fucking misinformation campaign that significantly hindered a young man's career. Ultimately, Slazo did have his fucking day in court, and he eventually put forth an expertly crafted, borderline bulletproof response that vindicated him in the eyes of anyone with a brain. I feel like this made most observers in the community reevaluate their expectations for accountability within the online space. I've said it before, I'll say it again, many of the voices being the loudest were his closest acquaintances. I'm about to alienate half my audience, but I find relevance in this Turkey Tom quote from a video titled "The Problem with Misinformation." He said, "When we let narratives go unchecked, we not only misinform the public, but we also create a culture where accountability is tossed aside. We have to demand better from our sources." And I think that's really what it boils down to. But as they say, birds of a feather flock together, right? Dishonest, self-victimizing. Honestly, the similarities drone on and on. Next, let's talk about Boogie2988 and Boblax. Both of these once beloved creators found themselves embroiled in controversy this year when they shared personal stories that nobody fucking asked for that would later raise questions about both of their authenticity and ultimately be both of their undoings. These two bravely decided to share their diagnoses, Boogie with cancer and Boblax with BPD. No, not bipolar disorder, with borderline personality disorder. But the internet demanded elaboration. Yeah, as I commented on Nick Diorio's original stream, you're in a tough spot when we're all hoping you have BPD because it would be the most logical explanation. It's so crazy to me how one piece of documentation would have vindicated both of these idiots had either one been telling the truth.
99% sure. You are faking your cancer diagnosis, Boogie. Boogie can have this whole thing. Show me a single document with polycythemia vera on it. You don't have one. I don't think the doctor ever diagnosed you with it.
You should be able to go right into diagnoses.
Yep.
Okay, and so it lists the cancer there?
Yes.
Okay, so you could screen cap that and just show it, and then that would be the end of it.
Absolutely. And I won't be doing that.
But I don't understand why not.
Because he doesn't have cancer. I got about he doesn't have cancer.
Now, Boogie's big argument was that he shouldn't have to show private, personal medical records to the internet to vindicate himself. Fair enough, right? No one should have to share their private medical records to validate their experiences or defend themselves in the face of online scrutiny. Requiring such personal disclosure not only breaches the fundamental human right to privacy, it also perpetuates a toxic culture that prioritizes sensationalism over empathy. Fuck that guy that just turned on his ACE. I hope you stub your toe tomorrow. Health is deeply personal, and each person's journey is of course going to be met with many complex— Sorry, what was that? Oh. They were both asking for money? Cards off the table. Privately, publicly, once you're asking for monetary help, basically insinuating that it's to alleviate a health crisis, whether that's mental or physical, and whether that's in private or in public. Boogie looking at you, asking your fans for money for cancer treatment. Boblax looking at you, asking Nick Diorio for money for rent. Yeah, if Boogie had just mentioned in passing that he was dealing with cancer, he probably would have experienced increased donations. And same with the Boblax thing. Like, I just found out, like, nobody in the audience knew for years that he was lying about BPD. And again, just like Jon Swan, people that I deem to be credible are going to bat for this idiot. But no one wants to make assumptions about people's health. It has come to light this week that Boblax a couple weeks ago came out to his friends as, I want to say pansexual, but I know it's something having to do with his gender. Non-binary is the term I was looking for. Basically, he's a non-gender conforming individual, but he insinuated to the internet that he had to come out due to the pressure of the situation. I just want to say that whatever his gender orientation or sexual orientation may be, it bears no merit on the substance of the conversation that we're having.
How could you have fallen for such an easy thing? Bro, I was learning about fucking, what did he call it? Gender euphoria, okay? I was learning about gender euphoria. There was quite a few things going on in this conversation.
Let's not forget that no one asked Boogie to hop online and beg for money for cancer treatment that he wasn't receiving. No one asked Boblax to message all his friends about BPD that he wasn't diagnosed with. So why am I giving these brief, vague rundowns of controversies within the online space within the past couple of years? Because we've learned fucking nothing.
404, right? The former employee who's working on a series to try to expose MrBeast and accusing him of wrongdoing on numerous fronts. And, you know, with all this, you have the Daily Mail saying that they obtained this letter which alleges that Dogpack's claims are not only untrue, but saying that they violate the confidentiality agreement and NDA that he signed with MrBeast's company.
2988 is why I think we've learned nothing. So as I played my intro, Dogpack, who worked at the company for 3 weeks, fabricated to the internet like he was an employee there that was working undercover to expose all the wrongdoings of this horrible corporation.
I'm a former MrBeast employee, and today I am alleging that the company—
Which, keep in mind, MrBeast up until this point had a pretty untouchable reputation. As the narrative unraveled, his lies became more and more difficult to maintain, culminating to a point where he could no longer defend his statements.
What are the verifiable false allegations? James Warren being charged with— You've shown a clear, reckless disregard for the truth by pushing that without verifying your sources, available online as you know, You've hidden your correction under a show more comment pinned on the video. No amount of peppering words allegedly throughout your video make any of this okay. And his response to this is a lot of cope. Can you prove that my allegation is false?
Turkey Tom hopped on Nick's stream and was like, yeah, better hope that James Warren actually beat his girlfriend. Like, no, you're missing the point. He put out that information without knowing for sure. And it seemed to be that so many creators were prioritizing his intentions over what he actually did. That creates a whole standard of degeneracy, honestly. Had he waited for the Freedom of Information Act regarding James Warren, it might have provided the clarity that he needed to substantiate his claims. Or, you know, he could have just fucking entirely avoided making them altogether. So supporters were like, but Dogpack, maybe he's trying to fight the good fight. I don't care if he is. It's about misinformation. Instead of scrutinizing the information and holding this fucker accountable, many creators and viewers alike took his claims at face value. I mean, he's an employee, for God's sake.
I'm a former MrBeast employee, and today I am alleging that the company...
And this doesn't just lead to reputational damage for the individual, it leads to reputational damage for the fucking community. Due diligence, skepticism, accuracy over sensationalism, every time. That's all I have to say. And I know it's right there, the Google AdSense, the allure of a compelling narrative, but we have to prioritize the provable truth if we want to foster a community, again, that holds each other accountable. All I'm calling for is a more measured approach to these situations, whether they're your friend or not. Also, fuck you, Bo Black. I'm a big believer that trust is earned, not given, and this discourse just serves as a blatant example. Transparency and honesty are non-negotiables when it comes to maintaining trust in this particular sphere of the internet. It's inherently human to want to give people the benefit of the doubt. This inclination often stems from our innate desire to preserve our optimism and ability to believe in genuinity. Without it, I think we're bound to become disenfranchised. Is it an admirable quality? Yes. But is it also inherently naive? Yes. Just prioritize critical thinking. That's it. Hope you have a great evening. I hope this video isn't too terminally online. Just please make sure to touch some grass today, okay?